Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to be getting some chores done, some plant chores. So if you have some plant chores to do too, grab them and we'll get some stuff done together. Now the first thing I need to get done is to change the water in all of my water propagations. So let's get that out of the way first. Off the list. Next I'm going to be spritzing my succulent propagations with some water, and I think these have actually started to root, because if I do the tug test I'm feeling some resistance there. That usually means they've started to root, and I've propagated quite a few jade plants, so I'm pretty confident they have started, but at the moment I'm just giving them a little spritz of water whenever they dry out. Soon I shall be switching to watering them a little bit differently, but just whilst they're still developing those roots I go a little easier on the water, and I find that reduces the chance of the cutting rotting. So let's get that done next. Guys are now nice and hydrated, so we'll put those back in their spot. Now I was thinking whilst I was doing my water change earlier, I think I might actually pot up some of those syngoniums because I think they're just about ready. I wasn't sure whether to leave them for a bit longer in the water, but syngoniums in my experience are super easy to propagate and really easy when you swap them over as well. I have also soil propagated these and they do really well both ways. They're one of the easiest plants to propagate. But yeah, I think I'm going to switch them over to soil and start to make that transition. I've really been getting into syngoniums lately. There are so many different varieties. This one is the first one that I ever bought, the Syngonium white butterfly, and I took this cutting off of my mother plant. I also recently got another couple of syngoniums, the Syngonium tricolour and a pink syngonium as well. And there are so many different varieties. I'm kind of interested to collect a few of them. Top of my wish list is the Syngonium albo, the Syngonium mottled, and also there's quite a few different pink varieties that I'd like to collect. But the interesting thing about this plant is it starts out with that classic arrow shape, but as the plant matures, and I didn't actually realise this until fairly recently, the leaves do actually change shape completely, and they kind of do what's called lobing out, and they kind of turn into the shape of kind of three lobes. So the leaf completely splits into three, and they're kind of completely different to the young leaves, which is really interesting, I think. And this plant is also super easy to look after. I definitely say it's a good beginner's plant as well. Really easy to propagate from. I'm always taking cuttings from mine. It's a really interesting plant, and if you want yours to grow upright, you can just keep cutting it back and replanting it, because it does eventually start to vine if left to go wild. You can also grow it up a pole as well. I also decided to pot up my weeping fig propagation because whilst I was changing the water, I noticed that the roots are going kind of crazy and I think it's ready to be potted. So I decided to pot this one up. And this one came off of my large weeping fig. Again, this one roots really, really easily. You can put this one in either water, as I've done here, or you can just put it straight into soil and skip the water step. In fact, some people prefer to do soil propagation because you don't get that danger of losing your plant when you transfer it. Some people find that their plant doesn't transfer well from water to soil. I've never really had a problem, and here are the finished plants. I chose these pots for them. Hope you like them. I think they look really nice in these pots. Next job on the list, I've taken some monstera adansonii cuttings, and this time I'm going to propagate them in soil. So I'm just going to pop those in some soil, ready to propagate. This is actually my first time soil propagating this plant. I'm just dipping the ends in some rooting hormone. I usually do this to all my cuttings. Apparently it helps them to root faster. I'm not really sure if that's true. I guess I'd have to do an experiment and kind of do a control exercise with one that doesn't have the rooting powder, but I just use it because it's pretty cheap to buy, and why not if it helps. So it's going to be interesting to see how these root compared to my water cuttings. I do actually have some water cuttings on the go at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see which ones do better or if they just do the same. Be an interesting experiment to see how they do. And there we go, my lovely new soil propagations. We'll see how they do. I've also got some of these in water which are pretty well rooted, but I'm waiting for them to root a little bit longer. But it will be interesting to see how these ones in soil do. I think they should do well because they do have aerial roots, and usually plants that have aerial roots tend to do well. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you got lots of chores done yourself. Let me know in the comments if you did and what did you do, and I'll see you in the next video.